In the far northeast of Russia lies Kolyma, a desolate expanse defined by its harsh climate and isolation. Here, the land itself becomes a weapon, shaping the fate of those who dare to enter. The icy terrain stretches endlessly, a brutal reminder of nature's indifference. This is not merely a location, it is a terminal zone, where survival is a fleeting hope and escape is an illusion. What drives men to such a forsaken place? The journey to Kolyma is fraught with peril. Prisoners arrive in chains, their faces gaunt and eyes hollow, reflecting the despair of their new reality. The air is frigid, biting at exposed skin, while the sound of crunching snow underfoot punctuates the silence. For many, this is the end of the line, a place where hope is buried beneath layers of ice and fear. How does one endure when the land itself seems to conspire against them? Kolyma's remoteness is a calculated design, a place intentionally cut off from the world. The nearest settlement is hundreds of miles away, accessible only through treacherous paths that twist through unforgiving terrain. The isolation is palpable, a suffocating shroud that envelops the prisoners. Here, the landscape itself acts as a prison, where escape is not just difficult, but nearly impossible. What thoughts linger in the minds of those who find themselves trapped in this desolation? As the days stretch into weeks, the bitter cold becomes a constant companion. The sun barely rises above the horizon, casting a dim light on the frozen ground. The prisoners' faces grow more lined and weary, their bodies struggling against the relentless chill. Each breath is visible, a reminder of the harsh reality they face. In this unforgiving landscape, time loses meaning, and survival becomes a daily battle. How long can one endure such relentless hardship? The camps of Kolyma are not mere facilities. They are designed to break the spirit. Wooden barracks, hastily constructed, offer little protection from the elements. Inside, the air is thick with despair, as prisoners share stories of their lost lives. The walls, stained with the remnants of past suffering, echo with the silence of those who have vanished. Here, the landscape serves as a constant reminder of their confinement. What does it mean to exist in a place where hope is extinguished? The vastness of Kolyma creates an illusion of freedom, yet it is a deceptive promise. The horizon stretches endlessly, taunting those who yearn for escape. The prisoners can see the mountains in the distance, but they are mere specters, unreachable and indifferent. Each day blends into the next, marked only by the relentless cycle of labor and survival. In this frozen expanse, what does freedom even mean when every step is weighed down by despair? The landscape itself becomes a character in the story of Kolyma. The biting winds howl like mournful spirits, carrying with them the echoes of lost souls. Each gust reminds the prisoners of their isolation, their insignificance against the backdrop of nature's fury. The cold is not just a physical challenge. It seeps into the very fabric of their existence, eroding their will to fight. How does one maintain hope when the environment is a constant adversary? As the seasons change, the landscape transforms but remains unforgiving. The brief thaw offers a fleeting respite, yet it reveals the harsh reality beneath the ice. Mud and slush replace snow, making every movement a struggle. The prisoner's clothing, once heavy and protective, becomes a burden, weighed down by the elements. In this relentless cycle, what does survival mean when every season brings new challenges? Kolyma is a place where the concept of time is distorted. Days stretch into an endless loop of toil and suffering. The prisoners lose track of their own histories, their identities eroded by the harshness of their surroundings. Each sunrise brings the same grim reality, and the weight of despair hangs heavily in the air. In a place where time seems to stand still, how does one cling to the remnants of their humanity? As the first act draws to a close, Kolyma stands as a stark testament to human endurance against the backdrop of an unforgiving landscape. The prisoners, trapped in this frozen hell, grapple with their fading hopes. The question lingers: in a place designed to strip away identity and spirit, can any flicker of resistance survive? What lies ahead for those who remain in this terminal zone? Kolyma's vast expanse was not merely a prison, it was a treasure trove for the Soviet state. The region's gold deposits, buried beneath permafrost, beckoned like a siren song, promising wealth and power. This allure transformed human lives into mere cogs in a relentless machine, where suffering was justified by the promise of national prosperity. The landscape, harsh and unforgiving, became a backdrop for exploitation, where the value of human life was calculated against the glittering gold. The Soviet regime viewed Kolyma as a strategic asset, essential for fueling the ambitions of a growing industrial state. The relentless pursuit of gold overshadowed the lives lost in the process. Each prisoner was a unit of labor, expendable and replaceable, as production quotas rose higher. The cold, unyielding reality of Kolyma was that human suffering was a necessary sacrifice in the name of progress, a chilling calculus of life and death. As the gold rush intensified, the conditions for the prisoners deteriorated. Food rations dwindled, and the harsh climate took its toll. Hunger gnawed at their insides, while the bitter cold seeped into their bones. The promise of wealth for the state translated into despair for the individuals who labored tirelessly, their bodies breaking under the weight of expectation and deprivation. In this unforgiving environment, survival became a daily struggle against overwhelming odds. The Soviet leadership's obsession with gold extraction led to a brutal efficiency that disregarded the humanity of those working the mines. Every ounce of gold was a testament to the regime's ambition, a symbol of national pride that came at an unimaginable cost. Prisoners were pushed beyond their limits, their lives reduced to mere statistics, in reports that boasted of production increases while glossing over the toll on human life. The extraction of wealth became a grim ritual. Amidst the relentless pursuit of gold, the stories of individual prisoners began to fade into obscurity. Each life lost was a footnote in a larger narrative of progress. Their dreams, aspirations, and identities were swallowed by the machinery of the state. The prisoners became faceless entities, their sacrifices rendered invisible by the overwhelming need for resources. In Kolyma, the human spirit was often eclipsed by the cold calculus of economic necessity. The Soviet state justified its actions through a narrative of national importance, framing the suffering of prisoners as a necessary evil. Propaganda painted a picture of heroic sacrifice for the greater good, obscuring the reality of exploitation. In the eyes of the regime, Kolyma was not a site of suffering, but a vital cog in the machine of progress. This twisted logic allowed for the continued extraction of gold, as the cost in human lives was deemed acceptable in the pursuit of glory. As the years dragged on, the relentless drive for gold led to a cycle of attrition. New prisoners arrived continuously, filling the ranks of those who had perished. The system thrived on replacement, erasing the individual stories of those who had come before. Each new arrival was met with the same grim fate, their lives reduced to mere numbers in a ledger. The cycle of suffering became a normalized aspect of life in Kolyma, a grim reality that few dared to challenge. The extraction of gold continued unabated, driven by the insatiable demands of the state. The prisoners, now accustomed to the harsh realities of Kolyma, labored on, their spirits often broken, but their bodies still forced to comply. The landscape, scarred by mining operations, bore witness to the relentless pursuit of wealth, a stark reminder of the human cost behind every ounce extracted. In this unforgiving land, survival and exploitation existed in a delicate balance. As Kolyma's gold production reached new heights, the regime celebrated its achievements while ignoring the suffering that fueled them. Reports of success flooded the propaganda machine, celebrating the wealth generated for the state. Yet, behind the facade of progress lay a grim truth. The lives of countless individuals were sacrificed on the altar of ambition. The relentless drive for resources overshadowed the humanity of those who toiled in the shadows, their stories lost to history. Kolyma's legacy as a site of extraction would linger long after the gold was mined. The stories of those who suffered, though often silenced, would eventually find their way into the historical narrative. The enduring impact of Kolyma serves as a reminder of the human cost of ambition and the lengths to which a state will go to achieve its goals. As the machinery of exploitation continued, the seeds of resistance and memory began to take root, hinting at the stories yet to be told. In Kolyma, winter was not merely a season. It was a relentless adversary. Temperatures plunged below -50 degrees Celsius, transforming the landscape into a frozen wasteland where survival was a daily gamble. Each breath expelled clouds of vapor, a stark reminder of the harsh reality that enveloped the prisoners. Frostbite became a constant threat, creeping insidiously upon exposed skin. Tools, essential for survival, froze to hands, rendering them useless. The prisoners, clad in tattered clothing, were ill-prepared for the extreme cold, their bodies becoming battlegrounds against nature's merciless grip. Shelters offered little respite from the elements. Crude wooden structures, hastily assembled, barely shielded against the howling winds. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of damp wood and despair, as men huddled together for warmth, their faces gaunt and eyes hollow. Mistakes that might be overlooked elsewhere became fatal in Kolyma. A slip on the ice, a moment of inattention, could lead to death. The cold acted as an executioner, claiming those who faltered, while the strong were left to endure the unrelenting conditions. The guards, tasked with maintaining order, were not immune to the cold's harshness. They, too, suffered from the biting temperatures, their faces red and noses chapped. Their authority was undermined by the very environment they sought to control. Kolyma's landscape was unforgiving, its beauty overshadowed by its brutality. The mountains loomed like silent witnesses, indifferent to the suffering below. Each flake of snow that fell seemed to bury the hopes of those trapped within its grasp. As days turned into weeks, the cold seeped into the very bones of the prisoners. Their bodies became frail and their spirits dimmed. Yet amidst the despair, a flicker of resilience remained, as they clung to the hope of survival. The cold did not discriminate. It stripped away the illusion of safety. Each morning brought a new battle against the elements, and the line between life and death blurred in the biting air. The struggle for warmth became a fight for existence. In this frozen hell, camaraderie formed in the face of adversity. Bonds were forged through shared suffering, as men relied on each other for warmth and strength. Together they faced the cold, united in their struggle for survival. As the relentless cold continued its assault, the prisoners learned to adapt, finding ways to endure. They became experts in survival, navigating the treacherous terrain of Kolyma. But even as they fought against nature, the specter of death loomed ever closer. In Kolyma, the stark reality of death became an everyday occurrence. Bodies, once individuals with stories, were reduced to mere statistics in the relentless machinery of labor. The cold, indifferent landscape swallowed them whole, leaving little trace behind. Prisoners, gaunt and hollow-eyed, trudged through the snow, their faces etched with exhaustion. Each day blurred into the next, as the living became accustomed to the absence of the fallen, their memories fading like footprints in the frost. Replacement labor arrived regularly, a constant influx of new faces, yet they too would soon succumb to the same fate. The cycle of life and death in Kolyma was a grim routine, devoid of shock or surprise. Mortality was treated as a necessary cost of production. Administrators meticulously recorded deaths, but the numbers became mere data points, stripped of humanity. Each entry was just another statistic in the ledger of despair. For the guards, the sight of death became routine. They moved through the camp with a practiced indifference, their own humanity eroded by the harsh realities of Kolyma. Survival meant accepting the unthinkable. The chilling winds howled through the camp, carrying whispers of the departed. Yet the living continued their grim tasks, shackled by the weight of survival, where death was not an end, but a mere pause. In the barracks, the air was thick with despair. The sick and dying lay side by side, their bodies a testament to the relentless toll of Kolyma. Hope flickered like a dying ember, overshadowed by the specter of mortality. As time dragged on, the living learned to navigate the absence of their companions. Conversations turned to memories of those lost, but even these faded, becoming echoes in the cold, vast emptiness of Kolyma. Death in Kolyma was not an act of violence, but a slow erosion of spirit and flesh. The landscape, a silent witness, absorbed the losses, making each grave indistinguishable from the next, a testament to anonymity. In this relentless cycle, the essence of humanity was stripped away, leaving only the instinct to endure. As the cold deepened, the question lingered: how much longer could they withstand this slow, consuming death? Kolyma was a place of dread for everyone, including the guards. Assigned to this frozen wasteland, they faced the same bitter cold and isolation as the prisoners. Their uniforms, threadbare and worn, offered little protection against the relentless chill. Each day, they witnessed the suffering around them, their own humanity eroding under the weight of survival. Corruption became a lifeline for many stationed in Kolyma. With supplies scarce, some guards resorted to extortion and bribery to survive. The moral lines blurred as they sought to navigate a system that rewarded ruthlessness. In this harsh environment, the struggle for basic necessities overshadowed any sense of duty. The guards, often young and unprepared, were thrust into a role that demanded brutality. Yet many felt a profound resignation. They were not sadists. They were trapped in a system that demanded compliance. Their fear of Kolyma's unforgiving nature mirrored that of the inmates, creating a shared, silent bond of endurance. As winter deepened, the guards' physical and mental states deteriorated. Frostbite became common, and the relentless cold gnawed at their spirits. They huddled around small fires, sharing stories of home that felt increasingly distant. The isolation weighed heavily, and many questioned their purpose in this desolate land. The distinction between captor and captive began to dissolve in Kolyma's harsh reality. Guards witnessed the slow death of humanity in both themselves and the prisoners. They became spectators to suffering, their own despair mingling with that of the men they were meant to control, creating a grim tapestry of shared misery. Some guards attempted to maintain a facade of authority, but the chill of Kolyma seeped into their bones, eroding their resolve. They faced the same brutal conditions as the prisoners, and many succumbed to illness or despair. The camp's relentless demands stripped them of any illusion of power. In the midst of this bleak existence, moments of humanity flickered. Some guards shared their meager rations with prisoners, recognizing the shared struggle for survival. These fleeting acts of kindness were rare, but they punctured the oppressive atmosphere, reminding everyone of their shared plight. The guards often turned to alcohol as a means of coping with the relentless despair. They drank to forget, to numb the pain of their reality. Yet, intoxication only deepened their isolation, creating a cycle of self-destruction that mirrored the suffering of the prisoners. As the seasons changed, the guards became increasingly aware of their own mortality. They witnessed the toll that Kolyma exacted on everyone, including themselves. The fear of death loomed large, and the realization that they were all trapped in this unforgiving landscape began to sink in. Kolyma's grip tightened around all who entered its realm. The guards, once seen as enforcers, became mere shadows of their former selves, struggling to survive in a world that offered no winners. The cycle of suffering continued, leaving everyone to question what it meant to endure. Years after the last prisoners left Kolyma, survivors began to share their stories. These narratives emerged from the shadows, recounting not acts of valor, but the quiet despair of existence in a land that sought to erase them. Among these voices was Anna, a woman in her 70s with silver hair and piercing blue eyes. Her memoir detailed the relentless cold and the daily struggle for survival, capturing the essence of life in Kolyma's unforgiving grip. The accounts varied, yet they shared a common thread, the overwhelming sense of erasure. Survivors spoke of friends lost to the cold, their names fading from memory like footprints in the snow. Language struggled to encapsulate the scale of suffering endured in Kolyma. Survivors found themselves grappling with words that felt inadequate, as if the enormity of their experiences could never be fully articulated. As these stories began to circulate, they reached distant shores, igniting curiosity and horror. Readers, unfamiliar with the realities of Kolyma, found themselves grappling with the stark contrast between their lives and the narratives unfolding before them. The fragmented testimonies painted a haunting picture of a forgotten place. Each story was a piece of a larger puzzle, revealing the depths of human suffering and resilience amidst the desolation of Kolyma. Survivors like Anna became reluctant historians, tasked with preserving memories that threatened to fade into oblivion. Their voices became a lifeline, connecting past horrors to present understandings of human endurance. Yet even as stories emerged, the weight of silence lingered. Many who had lived through Kolyma chose to remain silent, haunted by memories too painful to revisit, their experiences locked away in the recesses of their minds. The challenge of conveying Kolyma's reality persisted. Writers and historians struggled to find the right words, knowing that the true essence of suffering often eludes even the most skilled storytellers. As the world began to listen, the stories of Kolyma became a testament to survival against the odds. They laid bare the human spirit's resilience, hinting at the lessons still to be learned from this dark chapter of history. Kolyma stands as a stark reminder of a system that prioritized extraction over humanity. The landscape, barren and unforgiving, reflects the cold calculus of survival that defined this remote region. Here, lives were reduced to mere numbers, victims of an ideology that saw them as expendable resources. The relentless pursuit of gold overshadowed the value of life, leaving behind a legacy of despair that echoes through history. The name Kolyma became synonymous with suffering, a term that encapsulated the worst of the Gulag experience. It was a place where hope was extinguished and dreams were buried beneath layers of ice and despair. Survivors spoke of their time in Kolyma not as a chapter of resilience, but as a haunting memory of loss. The very mention of its name invoked a silence, a recognition of the horrors that transpired within its borders. As the years passed, the stories of Kolyma began to surface, revealing the depths of human suffering. Memoirs and testimonies emerged, capturing the stark reality of life in the camps. Each account painted a picture of relentless hardship, where survival was a daily struggle against both nature and the oppressive system. These narratives became crucial in understanding the true impact of Kolyma, serving as a testament to those who endured unimaginable pain. The legacy of Kolyma extends beyond the individual stories of suffering. It represents a collective memory, a warning of the dangers of unchecked power and dehumanization. As the world began to reckon with the atrocities of the Gulag, Kolyma emerged as a symbol of the extreme consequences of state control. It serves as a reminder that the machinery of oppression can strip away not just lives, but the very essence of humanity. In the years following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Kolyma's story gained new attention. Historians and researchers delved into the archives, uncovering documents that revealed the systematic nature of the Gulag. The stark statistics of death and despair painted a chilling portrait of a regime that prioritized gold over human life. Kolyma became a focal point in discussions about totalitarianism and its devastating effects on society. The impact of Kolyma resonates in modern discussions about human rights and the importance of remembering the past. It serves as a cautionary tale, urging vigilance against the rise of oppressive regimes. The stories of those who suffered remind us that history must not be forgotten, lest we allow the same patterns of cruelty to emerge again. Kolyma stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit amid unimaginable darkness. Today, Kolyma is not just a geographical location. It has become a symbol of the ultimate failure of a system that sought to erase individuality in the name of progress. The scars left on the land and the people serve as a reminder of the fragility of freedom and the importance of preserving human dignity. Kolyma embodies the tragic intersection of ambition and annihilation, a stark warning for generations to come. As we reflect on Kolyma, we confront the uncomfortable truth of its legacy. It is a name that evokes not only sorrow, but also a call to action. The stories of survival and loss compel us to stand against injustice in all its forms. Kolyma teaches us that the fight for human rights is an ongoing struggle, and that the lessons of the past must inform our present and future. In the end, Kolyma is a name that means end, but it also signifies the beginning of awareness. It challenges us to remember the past while actively working towards a future where such horrors are never repeated. The echoes of Kolyma remind us that history is not just a record of events, but a living narrative that shapes our understanding of humanity and our responsibilities to one another. Kolyma's legacy is not merely one of despair, it is also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As we honor those who suffered, we also commit to ensuring that their stories are never forgotten. Kolyma stands as a stark reminder of the consequences of indifference, urging us to remain vigilant in the face of oppression. In remembering Kolyma, we reclaim humanity's potential for compassion and justice.